Hello and welcome to Dating Discussions with Ronnie and Yasheka, this segment of Man Talk Mondays, which is going to be aired early on a Friday, the Friday before the Monday. And this is something I just felt I needed to address. This is something that I've been the topic of conversation for many, many years. And of course, my life experience. So, what I'm going to attempt to do is dissect a few things that I hope will add some sort of value to your experience as a man, as well as women, and women specifically when it comes to being in a relationship with a man. So, we're going to talk about men and emotions because there's one thing that is very constant is the thought that men are logical and women are emotional. And while there may be some truth to that, what I think many people pull from that is that all women are purely emotion and that men have no emotion. And any man or woman who has spent time with men will know that's not the case. Now, the way we process emotions are different. And again, that could be to our benefit and it can also be to our detriment. But before I get too deep into what, because I truly believe that this is something that I'm going to cover a lot more in depth with psychologists, therapists in that space, because I really don't want to get too deep in the woods. I really just want to touch on a few things to give some sort of thought as you move forward in relationships with other men, men that you care for in terms of the ones that you do business with or in business with, the ones that may be at your place of work, but more importantly, the relationships you have intimately with a man. And ladies, I'm going to address this to you. So again, some things I'm going to be talking to the men about. There are going to be some things I'm talking specifically to women about. What I'm going to share here, again, I'm not coming from a space because I am not a therapist and I never want to give the impression that I am or a clinical psychologist or licensed in any of those. I'm just going to share some thoughts, experiences, and just share what I feel is something that I think that will help you, especially women, as you move forward in your relationships with men. So let's get started. Well, let's start with what are or what is the emotion? And, as I decided to, of course, try to do a little research in terms of the definition of an emotion, of course, any of you who have done this already, you will know that there are many, many definitions, variations on what many feel an emotion is. Give you an example of one. One says emotion is a subjective state of mind and can be reactions to internal stimuli, such as thoughts or memories, or events that occur in our environment. Emotions are not the same thing as moods. A mood is a state of mind that predisposes us to react a certain way. Another one says emotions are psychological states brought on by neurophysiological changes variously associated with thoughts, feelings, behavioral responses, and a degree of pleasure or displeasure. Now, in this place, there's currently no scientific consensus on a definition. Then we get into the patterns or examples. And then you'll read, well, some will say there's 25 examples. Another one says 12. Another one says 27. And then the category. So you have enjoyment, sadness, fear, anger, disgust. So why do I share this? Well, anyone will tell you that if you are in a relationship with a man, you'll have at some point experienced some of this, other parts of this in excess, other parts of it may seem non-existent based on the man and his interpretation of what happened in his past. And it could be prior relationships with his intimate relationships, siblings, mother, father, aunts, uncles, church leaders. So many things happen. But one of the biggest things that inspired me to cover this subject is because what men do share with me is the mixed messages they receive from women concerning emotions. And by that, they mean, and I can see their point, I will concur in a number of cases where we're talking about a man is to show emotions or has some sort of feeling toward her plight, her situation, her joys, her victories, her challenges. But God forbid, if he needs to express an emotion concerning him and his journey. Or I see it happen so often in debates or discussions where you hear women say, oh, now you're all in your feelings. Or you're in your feelings. Oh, now you're whining like a little girl. And of course, sometimes the word can be a lot more colorful, which, I have no problem of sharing on this podcast, but you get my point. This has to stop. Now, of course, ladies, if you find yourself in a situation where you need to feel that a man has to address certain parts of his life concerning emotional instability, then your job, of course, is not to enable him, not to cure him, not to solve his problem, but have the conversation that maybe there is some help he may need from a professional. This is important because the life and your safety that you save may not just be for him, but be for you as well. So you want to make sure you are safe. And if there are children involved, of course, we want to make sure the children are safe as well. If you're dealing with a man who's emotionally unstable. However, we want to make sure that we do it in a space where you do it safely and calmly so that you don't trigger said person any further. And of course, again, it's not for, you'll make the decision if it's a situation that you need to exit yourself from. I'm going to encourage that. But before I go too deep into that direction, I want to get back to men expressing emotions because that is something that I find too often in conversations. Women and some men really do. And for some men and women, that started as early as when he's growing up. Not to cry, hold it in, buck up, put on your big boy pants. And while I do believe there's a place and a time for emotions, we want to make sure that we create an environment of emotional intelligence. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that starts with you. See, so a lot of you all are projecting your challenges emotionally onto said man or young boy. So that may be a space where you now have to go on your own time, seek some professional help. And that's something you have to do a little self-reflection on. Because if you're not emotionally stable, to think that you can be in a relationship with a man who's emotionally unstable is, oh boy, it can turn ugly real fast. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to really be an explosive situation. It could be something like washing the dishes, leaving the cover off the toothpaste. And you're ending up in a situation and hearing things and glass breaking of whatever. We're not even going to talk about the situations where he may interpret that you're having an affair or and cheating on him, or you don't care about him. I can give you plenty of examples in years of coaching. But we want to make sure that we provide an environment that a man is allowed to share laughter. If there's something that he wants to address that he feels that the relationship itself could improve, then allow him that space. Don't look at this, oh, you whining. Oh, come on, oh, I see this so often, ladies. Ladies do come together, and then let's stop this. Allow a man to share his thoughts. Allow a man to share what he feels could improve the relationship with you and with himself. He may have done some self-reflection and realized that there are some things that he needs to adjust and deal with professionally. And he should be viewed as weak or less than a man. Because then we get into the conversations of, well, a real man would A, B, C, D, E. A real man would do this. A real man would do that. A real man wouldn't do this. A real man wouldn't do that. Gentlemen, for our brothers keepers, we also want to make sure that we do our part to provide an environment for brothers to come together and share emotions, thoughts, feelings, joys, victories, challenges. Again, we don't want to enable, we don't want to try to cure. And if we need to, provide the resources that will help them. Now, for many of you men and women who are listening in, if you reach out to me at resultswithronnie@gmail.com or Ronnie and Yasheka@gmail.com, I'd be more than happy to provide what I feel are some resources to reach out. Or you can also go to MrRelationshipManCave.com. That's MrRelationshipManCave.com. And there you'll see a spot for a gentleman who can help, who's a therapist, who can help you in that space. I want us all to grow. And I do believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that part of growing is our growth in our emotional maturity, emotional intelligence. It's key. If you want to grow as a man, as a father, leader, business person, lover, you really have to make sure that you're putting in your time in terms of your emotional maturity. And again, ladies, let's make sure we get better at first handling our own emotions effectively with more maturity. And we provide an environment that if you're in relationships with men, that you provide an environment for him to share his emotions and work through his thoughts. And if it's something that you feel that you're too vested in, then don't hesitate to have the conversation with him and suggest him seeking some professional help. Now, I don't know how long this podcast episode is, but I really wanted to share the thoughts of a lot of men that I speak to. I don't care if it's in the barbershop, basketball court, cigar lounge, or your local neighborhood sports bar. There are many men, ladies, that feel that they're not being heard, that they don't have a voice when it comes to sharing emotions or expressing their emotions. And so allow me to suggest to you to take a look at yourself, take a look at the relationship that you're in with your man and ask yourself, when was the last time that I sat down and listened to him and what he thought of the relationship, what he thinks of the relationship with himself, and what he thinks of the relationship with me? And am I providing an environment for him to express his emotions, to share his thoughts? And sometimes you'd be surprised at what you come to, the conclusion you come to. Not to mention asking him the question if he feels that you provide an environment for him to share his thoughts and emotions. Many of you really would be surprised. So I just want to take a few minutes to just touch on a few things for you to consider, because part of your relationship growth, of course, we're talking about emotions. You're always going to deal with emotions when we're talking about relationships. And sometimes when we're dealing with emotional instability, this is something that he can't control. It could be some chemical imbalance. And that leads to a lack of empathy. Sometimes the job, business, and it affects their passion for life. And if it affects their passion for life, then it's going to affect their passion for a relationship, passion for himself and passion for you. Then sometimes that can lead to addictions, substance abuse. And see, the recent pandemic has brought a lot of this stuff to the surface. There are many men and women that are learning things about themselves and about their respective partners that at one point they had the luxury of not having to really deal with because of schedules and taking care of the children and business, and the job has got them all over the place. And now being in an environment where you have to deal with each other in a much more closed environment brought a lot of this out. And many of you, truth be told, kick the can down the road. So as we're going into another year, don't wait till the next year starts. Start today and really take inventory of yourself emotionally and the environment that you provide for the man in your life. Again, if you have any questions, thoughts, suggestions, reach out to me at ronnieandyasheka@gmail.com or resultswithronnie@gmail.com. If there's some resources that I could share with you, I'd be more than happy to. If you had a resource that you feel that you can contribute, I'd be more than welcome to receive that as well. My name is Ronnie Walker. I'm the host and master coach of exceptional relationships, dating, and sex. I want to take this time to thank you for your support of the Dating Discussions with Ronnie and Yasheka on YouTube. Listen and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. It's free. And allow us to continue to bring you some subjects that we feel could be of value to your life and relationship. We're also on Facebook. You can look at us on Ronnie and Yasheka Dating Discussions. And if you like coaching from Yasheka or I, you can go to datingdiscussions.com. And there you'll find a little bit of information on us both. And we'd be more than happy to be of value to your relationship and your life. Again, my name is Ronnie Walker, master coach of exceptional relationships, dating, and sex. And I thank you for your support of this project, of this podcast. Again, listen in and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a wonderful day.